A massive grid of GT4 machinery made the trip to Wisconsin's Road America, and SRO America's biggest field is always appointment viewing. Just over a mile from the village of Elkhart Lake, where fans flock to see their favorite cars and drivers at the driver parade Thursday night, the circuit at Road America is a high-speed thrill ride that will separate contender from pretender as the championship battle in all three classes starts to come into focus. Hello and welcome to America's National Park of Speed. My name is Ryan Marine, joined by Calvin Fish here in the broadcast booth. Shay Adam is on the pit lane for us in this broadcast today of Pirelli GT4 America action. The car's already out on the formation lap, Calvin, about to turn them loose around one of the best tracks anywhere on the planet.
Yeah, just a monster of a racetrack and a monster of a lap this morning by Stephen McAleer, putting the RS1 car on the pole position by a massive margin, looking for their 8th victory from the first 9 rounds. They are dominating right now.
What a season they've had. Their closest competitors, the Conquest Racing JMF Motorsports squad of Gavin Sanders and Mackay Stevens, well, they were the closest in qualifying as well. They'll start to the outside. No time to go through this massive field as far as the starting grid is concerned, because we are about to go green. McAleer will lead them to the VP acceleration zone, where he will be able to control the start. They enter that zone now, and he accelerates away, pulling away in the RS1 Porsche. The Sanders-driven Mercedes alongside. Under pressure, though, from the silver class running car of Kevin Conway. Smooge Racing battling for second.
Yeah, Conway, a big move there down to the inside. They try and coexist there through the apex. Looks like they're doing it. Conway pinches that a little bit, almost loses the rear end. Big gap with the top 3 over the rest of the field.
Leaning green through 1. Turn 2 is just a little kink, so this is turn 3 right here. This bend to the right. Everyone mostly too wide throughout this massive field of GT4 cars. 3 classes, Silver, Pro-Am, and Am, mixing it up all together.
Okay, Gavin Sanders having to be really protective here on the run down the moraine sweep to the brake zone. Kevin Conway looks to the outside towards the Smooge Racing entry. That Super is really cutting some fast lap times here. Side-by-side action into turn 5. Little touch there in the middle of the pack.
Oh, and it's 3 wide on the exit. That's going to be a rough ride. That's either Johan Schwartz or Todd Brown in that Rooster Hall Racing Am class car. Again, all 3 classes in identical GT4 machinery. So they're all mixing it up together regardless of class. The top 4, though, all belong to the silver class runners.
Yeah, I think that was Schwartz who started this race on the Am pole. Argy-bargy through turn 5 there. Let's see if everyone survives without any damage. Settling in. Top 3 have burst away a little bit.
And they have. Something McAleer is used to doing. And looks like he's building a bit of a gap over Sanders. Here we go. Gray Newell taking a peek to the inside of Mike Skeen. That's a new program here this weekend.
Oh, Skeen's wide. Austin Smith's had an excellent start to this race. Got the BMW up to P4 overall. There he is. Oh, look at this. Oh.
Edgar Lau totally sideways and
what a
corrects
save.
it.
What a save.
He was looking at the wall in 2 different directions, and somehow Edgar Lau came out, pointed the right way.
That was so close to a big moment there. Well, it was a big moment, almost a big incident, because he was out in the gray, no grip out there. They all kind of fanned out into the brake zone for Canada Corner.
Absolutely unbelievable. Johan Schwartz got to see all of it.
Trouble.
Yeah, he was dropping off in a big way. That's a big hit there for this G2 Racing G-Speed team. He was set to share this car with Oklahoman Grayson Farashon, but it appears something amiss with the BMW M4 GT4.
Yeah, it looked like he was struggling and measly, dropping back from the leaders. Charlie Booston's having a nice run here. Really worked hard. He actually was big friends with the Hobbs family. David and Greg working with him in terms of shortcutting the learning process here at Road America. He's got his family here this weekend. His dad is over from England. They'll be cheering him on right now. Great start to this race. He's got the lead in Am.
He does. He's actually running in the top 10 overall and just picked up another overall spot. It's Tom Capizzi behind him, and Tom has dropped back 5 spots since the start of this race. That's the car he shares with John Capestro Dubets. They had high hopes this weekend.
Yeah, struggled a bit with the balance on the car yesterday. We're hoping to turn things around today, but certainly not showcasing the sort of speed they've had in recent rounds.
Side by side up the hill for turn 6, blind on turn in, and it leads to this fast, high commitment turn number 7 in the run down to hurry downs in turn 8.
Newell having a solid start here. Qualified on the pole in Pro-Am. Harder racing Aston Martin. Through carousel. When the car's going to feel really good, tires are at their freshest. Same set of tires after complete this full 60-minute stint with both drivers. Pit stop window opens at minute 25 to minute 35 of this 60-minute sprint.
Newell and his co-driver Ian James, they scored their first win of the season in race 1 at Watkins Glen. That's the last time we saw these cars on track was at Watkins Glen. Finished 10th in the second race that weekend. They come in 33 points out of the Pro-Am Championship lead, which is certainly the most hotly contested championship in Pirelli GT4 America this year, in part because Charlie Postins and James Clay are running away with it at AM, and same could be said for Stephen McAleer and Eric Filgaris, who have been totally dominant in silver.
And here we see McAleer up front, just total control, totally on top of his game. What a year he's putting together. Continues to lead a big GT3 championship here in North America. Probably the season of his life. In terms of the confidence that he's got. I think Skeen's back out the pit lane, see if he's got speed now as the leader puts a lap on him.
Totally agree with you about McAleer, though. It seems like any car he steps into has not only been fast, we're used to that with McAleer, but they've had the fortune on their side, too. Years like this don't come all that frequently, and I think Stephen is well aware of that. They're taking full advantage. Good battle here. 15, that's Brian Putt. Lau right behind. And behind him, Elias Sabo going side by side with a Toyota Supra.
Sabo's had a great year. I mean, he's really come on form this year with the team, Flying Lizard, Andy Lee, great partnership.
It's Dominic Starkweather in the Dexter Racing Supra, little chrome horn there. You could see just how strong that Supra is in a straight line after a couple adjustments have been made to it. Going back to the last race at Watkins Glen, that's where we first saw it run in this configuration. They worked some things out dealing with their boost levels. Interesting story from the pit lane. We got an explanation on why Mike Skeen was struggling. Apparently they decided to really roll the dice. They started on rain tires.
That is the ultimate gamble. I mean, I know it's close, but to have a perfectly dry racetrack and go out there, I mean, you're just going to burn those things off in a heartbeat.
But in their defense, we were looking at the radar screens right before the race started, and the radar would say it should be raining right now.
It was right there. Oh, that's close.
And evidently it was raining in the pit lane. Yikes. Scary moment there.
Yeah, that was so close to a big moment. Great recovery.
Johann Schwartz, second place in the AM class. He's working on the back of Tom Capizzi as well.
Post's done a really nice job up front, just controlling this race right now. A little overflow, we've seen that before this year, coming out the left-hand fender there.
Well, the reason Schwartz is so keen to make this move, it's not for class position, it's because the car he's chasing for class position, and in fact the class lead, is Postins, who he can see. He just needs to get past Capizzi.
Yeah, Johann's such a fierce competitor. Love how he goes about his sport, just total passion. Gives it everything. His wife is right beside him every step of the way in all facets of the game. I saw him last night. He said, yeah, I think we're getting close. He said, I just got to put it all together. But it's a steep learning curve coming to a racetrack like this. Big 4 miles. There's some really critical corners which you just got to get right and be committed to, like the carousel, like the kink. You can add to that list as well.
For Postins, it's hard to think about it being a much better season than the one that they've had. They have finished no worse than second in 7 of the 8 races. Did have some misfortune in race 2 at NOLA where they didn't finish, but when they have finished, it has been a win or second place. In all but one of those, actually, it's been a win, and that's why they lead the points by 68.
Yeah, and racing has been in the family for a long time. His dad, Bill, I met for the first time this weekend. Used to race with David Hobbs. They lived in the same area of the country over in the UK, became keen friends and still remain that way to this day. Got the families over here visiting this weekend here in Elkhart Lake, where the Hobbs have a family residence as well as their one down in Florida. So it's been a great weekend, and they'll be loving watching Charlie having a strong run here today.
Also having a strong run is Kevin Conway, former NASCAR Cup Series Rookie of the Year, but has been a sports car racer by and large for the past decade or so. He and his young charge, John Jesbray, they were the AM Class champions last year and took a big jump up in terms of competition level, going all the way up to the silver class this season. They haven't had a win yet, but they've had several podiums. Admittedly, it's not the deepest field in terms of the pure numbers, but it is a strong field. Every car in that silver class has a stout lineup.
This is a point in the scene where they really came on strong last year, and John Jesbray loves this circuit. Kevin Conway said the Supra is so quick around it. It's just perfectly matched. We got good top speed, but he said the handling is just outrageous. He said we're close to being flat on good tires through the kink. In a GT4 car, you don't do that. So that is a monster statement to make.
No kidding. Well, and on the subject of them coming into form deeper into the season, I chatted with John at that parade on Thursday, and he said there's something about the final third of a season where things start to click for him, and it was the case for him in MX5 Cup a couple of years ago. It was the case for him, he felt like, in AM last year, where they went from just being contenders in AM to contenders for top 10, top 5 overall. And he feels like he's on the precipice of something similar here this season too, and we're seeing the performance start to come. Watkins Glen, we saw glimpses of it. It's been a good weekend so far in Road America too.
Carl Skeen, who's been in pit lane, I assume, will put slick tires on after that gambling move of throwing wets at it, hoping it was going to rain here. And if it had rained, boy, he'd have been off in the distance before anyone could respond. You're probably looking at a 25-second delta if it rains and you're on the right tires.
That's a gamble you can take if they're effectively doing a one-off, or perhaps they'll do some more races this year, but they're not in the championship hunt. You can take a risk, and worst case scenario, it's a good test day. Best case scenario, you look like a bunch of heroes and you bring home the big trophy.
Yes, I don't know if you'd be taking that big a gamble when you're starting on the second row of the grid. I mean, Skeen has tremendous pace. To have the car that's that quick and close to the pace anyway, you can maybe just execute a good dry race and be right there as well. But they had obviously discussed it, and I'm sure everyone was on board with that decision.
Battle shaping up here. Car 24, the Aston Martin. That's Gray Newell. Heart of Racing is the team. He's the leader in Pro-Am, but for how much longer? Because there are a couple fire-breathing Porsche Caymans right behind that have other ideas. First to take a chance is Scott Noble, who's got designs on that top spot. And this is a backup chassis for them, that Noah Sport team. Initially, it looked like they were going to have to run in an invitational class, therefore not being eligible to score points. And that would have been a big deal because they lead the class points. However, it sounds like whatever situation led to that original decision has been dealt with, and they should be eligible for points here and run right there in the mix as they have been all season.
Yeah, and importantly, they're running ahead of Adelson, who's only 4 points back, along with his teammate Elliott Skier. So this is a fierce battle for this Pro-Am championship. Jason Hart obviously trying to repeat the championship year like he had with Matt Travis in 2021.
Matt is back for the second straight weekend. Understand he will be for the remainder of the season, but had stepped away to try some other championships, but got the chance to run alongside Alan Stad in the AM class, starting at Watkins Glen, and immediately they were on the pace, finished fourth in both races. Here comes Adelson, points implications here.
Yeah, big move there, trying to get around Noble. Nobles tries to revenge. That's going to get tight there in turn 7, excuse me. And right behind him is Postens, who's feeling the pressure from Schwartz. So Postens going for it, down to the inside, gives it up. Watch Johann Schwartz get a run here through turn 8.
Yeah, Johann needs no second invitation. He pulls alongside. Postens gives him just enough room. They'll be side by side, entering the carousel, and the Drift King slots in front.
He sends it.
That's for the lead in AM.
Charlie thought about trying to make that move and got pretty aggressive. It's kind of backfired on him a little bit with his exit speed off of turn 8.
Race control, by the way, very quick. Car 47, that's Noble. A warning for a move in response. You're allowed to block or move to defend proactively, but if you move in response to the car behind you, you're staring in your mirrors, that is deemed blocking and can result in a penalty.
Well, I think they're really trying to put the hammer down in terms of driver etiquette, because we've had a few races where there's been just too much carnage and a lot of cars are getting wiped out. So I think the driver stewards have said, listen, we've got to start to clean things up here a little bit, have respect for one another, and we can get through these races cleanly and put on quite the show. We don't want to see cars on the sidelines.
Great to see this strong run from Johann Schwartz and this Rooster Hall team. They are champions in the touring car ranks. Certainly Johann is, and the team as well. Was the team's champion in the TC class back in 2019. It was stepping up to GT4. It's been a mixed bag this year. Best finish of second in the second race at VIR, home turf for the team, and that was a big one for them, but not necessarily the ultimate pace that they've been hoping for week in and week out. However, this weekend's been a different story.
With Charlie Posters, he just needs to keep it close. He's got James Clay as his finisher and teammate, so James will certainly be up on the wheel and they can potentially get another win here and they get ever closer to sealing the deal on this championship. Coming in here with a healthy 68-point lead. If they have a big weekend, it won't be locked up, but it'll be pretty close to that. So see how things develop here over today and tomorrow.
Brian Putt running 6th in Pro-Am. Starkweather managed to get by a few laps ago and now runs in 5th. He's behind Tim Horrell, who's a great story. We haven't had a chance to chronicle this much this season, but Tim racing with hand controls. He'll share this car with Rafa Matos. But a really cool story. He's had some success racing with hand controls in Trans Am, and now stepping into GT4 cars here this year.
I also had a chat with Dominic Starkweather yesterday after the drivers' meeting. Really nice young man, 20 years old. Works for his dad's roofing company in Phoenix, Arizona. I said, that's got to be tough work. And he said, yeah. He said ambient will be about 120 and roof temp about 180. So tough going, but he's a young man who's really going places. A lot of talent. Doesn't have a ton of experience, but really a bright young prospect in our championship.
Yep, that's Dominic Starkweather in the Dexter Racing Toyota Supra. That team's tried a couple different cars over the past few years. They ran Ginettas for a long time. It was the Aston last year. Now in the Toyota camp, driving alongside Ryan Dexter, who plays a big role along with his brother Warren and father as well, Zane, in running, managing that little team operating out of Nebraska.
Conway there really respecting the track limits. Up front, Mackler leads this duo by about 7 seconds plus. So he's having things his own way once again and really setting the RS1 team up. They'd love a green flag race here today and not lose that gap with the reset, which we've seen a lot of this year.
Calvin, it's unbelievable. We talk about how close the competition is in GT4, the BOP, the homologation, everything is done to try and level the playing field. And yet, this RS1 team has excelled so often this year. And case in point, McAleer's best lap, it is the CrowdStrike fastest lap of the race. It is over a second clear of everyone else.
Yeah, and you know, I think the driver lineups in terms of electing who qualified for today is a little bit different to normal, so I think that kind of expands that delta a little bit, but nonetheless, I mean, Eric Filgaris was running laps within a few tenths of Stephen this morning in his qualifying run as well, so they're just ticking all of the boxes. The car is hooked up, seems to be in the sweet spot. They roll off the trailer quick and just execute the weekends, and I mean, the one race that got away from them was really just around when they elected to pit with the weather that we had at NOLA. Otherwise, it could have been a different VIR, excuse me. Otherwise, it could have been a different story.
Yeah, it looked like they were going to be on the back foot at NOLA, and that caught some of their competitors, the Conquest cars specifically, and they ended up winning. But weather giveth and weather taketh, as we learned a few races later at VIR, and they were on the other side of that very same equation. Already, nearly 20 minutes into this race, it flies right on by, which means we are now approaching the pit window. Opens up right after the clock ticks past 35 minutes to go, and it is open for the next 10 minutes. And in that window, the driver change must take place. There is no refueling, no tire changes unless there is a demonstrable issue with the tire. So that means these tires have to last the full duration here, 60 laps, and keeping something to work with for the second driver, that becomes the task here for driver one.
Now, particularly on this racetrack, it's so abrasive, and tire deck is always a factor coming here at Road America. It'll go away at the end of this season, obviously, with the resurfacing that takes place starting in October, I believe. So it'll be a different animal next year, but right now it's on everyone's mind, and you can't afford to just abuse your tires and give your co-driver nothing to play with at the end of this race. So that's a big part of the strategy. Schwartz here having a big run here now, getting amongst those cars in front of him. We're running in the Pro-Am class, so he's he'd love to gap Charlie Postins a little bit, but Charlie's hanging tough. He just sits there about half a dozen car lengths behind him right now.
In fact, he just was going side by side with Noble so that he could try and stay in the same zip code as Johann Schwartz. They go side by side again just behind this camera shot in the run down to turn 5. Here comes Schwartz taking a peek up the inside of Adelson, but Adam late on the brakes. There you do. That's a huge move. It keeps him right there in striking distance.
Yeah, Noble tries to come back at him. Charlie said, no, just let me get back into my rhythm. I think I've got a bit more lap time than you. He's just trying to keep it tight on Johann Schwartz. Love to get the lead, obviously, but if he's just right on the bumper of Johann, allow the Bimmer World team to do their job in pit lane.
And also allow James Clay to do his job when he climbs aboard.
It's been a great fit. Been friends for a long, long time, James Clay and Charlie Poston, so good combination. Originally, James Clay was anticipating running in GT3 or Fanatec GT Championship this year, and they lost the car in preseason testing. They're just down to one single entry. So he switched his attention back to GT4, where he's had so much success over the years with from a driving and a team perspective. This is Canada corner, big brake zone here, a little bit bumpy. See these cars very compliant, they really deal with it very nicely. This is a big commitment corner, turn 13. That little access road there is like a little bit of a margin. If you drop a wheel at high speed, look out.
This continues to be a good duel here. Kevin Conway, Gavin Sanders running third and second respectively. This happening 8.2 seconds behind McAleer, who is running in the low 220s. Everyone else in the high 220s or beyond. Again, giving you an idea of just how much McAleer seems to have in hand at this stage. This continues to be really interesting. And for Adelson, he wants no part of this with Schwartz trying to make his way through, because he's in a battle of his own, right? This is for the lead in Pro-Am. Gray Newell, somewhat unheralded here, I have to say. Apologies to you, Gray. You've driven a great race. Started on pole, and you've kept it. He's kept it there despite all this pressure.
Yeah, and he's got a very able teammate, of course, in the middle-aged Englishman, Ian James, as we now call him. But, he's been a great mentor for Gray in terms of leading this heart of racing operation and also being Gray's teammate in this Sprint X competition. So a great combination, good team. They tick all the boxes as well, and on their day, they can grab wins.
Do love this too. You got the front engine, Aston, very distinct body shape. Similar for the Cayman, right? In a very distinct shape. You know what you're looking at when you see it. But the rear engine configuration, and then the BMW M4.
Here comes Johann, deep on the brakes.
Here he comes. It's going to cost Adelson some time. He had to give him an extra space, compromised his line somewhat, and that gives Gray Newell a bit of breathing room. More on the Heart of Racing team with Shea.
Speaking of Gray Newell, his co-driver Ian James just putting his helmet on, getting ready to take over the Aston Martin GT4. I said, Ian, it's kind of nice when Gray brings it in for the lead for you. And he laughed and said, yeah, makes my life a bit harder because he's the one who's done the hard work. So means that Ian just has to keep it there to see if these guys can claim a win here at Road America.
Oh, Schwartz late on the brakes, side by side.
There's Postins, he's right there.
Mm-hmm. And that's why Clay wants to go. He knows Charlie is right there. And look at Johan Schwartz keeping it tucked to the outside. He'll have the inside line here for 14.
Watch Charlie Post just back it up and time the run off the final corner. He get a run here on the front straightaway.
Scott Noble might too. He might have a play here on Adelson as well, who definitely lost out the most in that whole situation. Adelson drops the spot in Am, but now it's the Pro-Am runner for class position. Noble trying to come back on the outside.
And Johan's going to be saying, no way, I've spent like 5-6 laps trying to get by you so I can gap Charlie Postins. His Postins is right in his rearview mirrors again.
That was so close. A piece of paper perhaps could have fit between those two, but somehow the Porsches stayed off of one another. Adelson will hold on to second, but look how much time it's cost him.
Peasy's right there as well in the 52 machine for World Technic. So many great battles throughout this field today.
Always in this championship. Peasy pops to the outside now. He'll try and grab third away from Noble, and yeah, that's done. Well into the braking zone.
Yeah, this pit window is going to be open next time these drivers get to pit lane, so you'd have to think that the Noble Sport team would try and take advantage of that.
Starkweather.
Off and on in turn 5.
Final step of the podium in Am, by the way. Anthony Gerasi right now has that spot. Great to have Krug Speed back. Always behind him, Paul Sparta's got the Raymond Vandals car up to 4th. Just made a pass for that position in the Am class. And these two have been linked seemingly by a tether from the start of the race, because I don't think they've been more than this far apart basically for the first 26 minutes.
Seemed like Kevin's just content not to take any risk here, just try and keep it close. Obviously, McAleer is driving away here and has got almost a 9-second lead. He's going to be for that RS1 team. What do they elect to do? Do they elect to do the overcut and keep McAleer out there, while he continues to run at big pace as the chasers hit pit lane at the first opportunity?
And McAleer stayed out.
Oh, that's close.
Boy,
There's a
that's
hit.
a hit. Between those two, that is huge. Oh, second and third overall, and in class made contact, and it looks pretty big. Wow. I see a tire rub on the Conquest car. Let's look at it again.
That's right where the pit lane speed of 50K starts, and just Kevin had a big run there. I'm not sure if Gavin overslowed and caught him by surprise, or if Kevin was just missing his marks a little bit. Sometimes the drivers can elect to start undoing their safety harness and stuff. You can be distracted, and either way, big contact between these two cars.
Oh, and Sanders got the worst of it, I think. So you're gonna have to change that left rear tire and try and clear out some clearance with that bodywork as well.
Typically, you're not set up. You're just expecting to do a driver change and maybe some tire pressures. And now they got to get ready to change that left rear.
Yeah, they didn't have much time to react to that either, given where that took place. This is the damage on the Supra. That looks mostly superficial.
You definitely want to get some duct tape or bare bond on that right front fender panel there. Try and connect everything up a little bit better. That is going to get at it, the high-speed nature of this circuit. Concern for the Conquest car is that that damage is still into that left rear, even if they change it. So they've got to try and get that out and give some clearance to it.
No question. That's going to be a big setback for those two, and what a gift for McAleer and Filgaris. Busy pit lane here. Yep, here's the Smooch crew trying to pull back some bodywork. Yeah, that might have been worse than I thought initially. The crowbar goes in. By the way, minimum pit stop Delta, 91 seconds. They're going to be well over that. They lose a spot. Here comes Newell. Now it's James, I suppose, out in that car. Pretty good changeover for them. Similar for Adelson and Capizzi. Noble right on the money. Horrell to Matos on the money.
I like this call. Don't want to mess with a safety car suddenly needing to be out there for any reason. Good hot lap in. Pit lane should be clearing out a little bit. Allow you to do your service. Ticking all of the boxes, RS1 here on the way to a championship.
Well, that's really been the story of the season. Great driver pairing, very strong team. This new Cayman has been a good package right from the word go. you put it all together with some good luck thrown into the mix, and you get a dominant season like they've had.
Yeah, and Eric Filgueras is just the perfect partner for Stephen McAleer with his experience and speed, and Eric's got monster speed as well, so they don't have any weak links in that combination, that's for sure.
Now this is the fight for Pro-Am honors, and it's transitioned to Ian James versus Elliott Skier. This is the weekend where Elliott Skier burst onto the scene last year alongside Adelson.
Problem for the 10 car, they're underneath the Joker time. 89.9 and 91 was the number, so you got a second to play with, and they're about 400s underneath that. They'll get a drive-through, unfortunately.
That's the Tim Horrell Rafa Matos car. I said it was a good stop. It was too good. That's the problem, and it was close, but close is not good enough. These margins are razor, razor thin. Good stop here for RS1. The car sits stationary with the service complete. That typically means they've done it to perfection. Now just timing that exit.
Great partners on board with the community. Bear Works. Support, pretty cool. What a championship season they're putting together. Anything can happen, but boy, they are dominating things this year.
Now Eric's got to figure out how much grip do I have to work with. He's likely never driven the car in these exact circumstances with Pirelli's this deep into a stint. To figure it out quickly.
James Clay away. So this AM battle plays out here this afternoon as well. Great opening stint there with Johan Schwartz and Charlie not duking it out so much. Charlie got the track position, Johan got back by him, but Charlie kept it close and is certainly going to give Bimmerwald a crack at another win.
This is Todd Brown, who's taken over the Rooster Hall Racing BMW that Johan Schwartz started. Leads in the AM class. A lot of pressure here for Todd. By the way, incident between 68 and 34 is under review. That's the contact in the pit entry that we saw earlier. Doesn't look like either of those cars, though, are in the mix, both with lengthy stops for repairs, and that will scupper their day with still nearly half the race to run.
Schwartz is staying out there deep into this window.
Yeah, apologies, I misspoke. It is still Johan behind the wheel, not Todd Brown just yet.
Yeah, they're electing just to keep their quicker driver in as long as they can and make hay.
This is the only car that has not come to the pit lane for the driver change so far. They just have to be inside the pits when the clock gets down to 25 minutes. Service can follow that. As long as you're in the pit lane, you are good to go.
This will be a tasty battle here. Ian James now behind the wheel of the harder racing Aston Martin. Elliott Skier behind the wheel of this Premier Racing 120 Porsche.
Let's give the crew for Premier Racing a shout out because they had some work to do. There was an incident in practice yesterday. They were here till midnight working on repairs for that race car. Well, it is repaired. I should say Adam had a good run earlier today in GT America powered by AWS. And now it's carried over to Pirelli GT4 America. Elliott Skier in striking distance of the class lead.
Yeah, this is going to be a long 27 minutes for Ian James to hang on here. Elliott Skier has got a ton of pace.
We'll watch this battle unfold, but as we do so, down to the pit lane and Shea.
With Charlie Parsons fresh out of the Bimmerwald BMW, you've now handed over to James Clay to bring this one home. Great season so far, but that looked like some of the best battling all year.
You're absolutely right. It was slow to get going the year, but the class seems to have got its act together now, and we're just having great fun out there. It really was nose to tail for all of the stint, really, and the majority of it was clean. The track's losing a little grip, but I've got every confidence in James. He'll do what he normally does and bring it home, so fingers crossed.
Do you need it to stay dry to be able to keep your pulse down and have the ability to breathe?
Well, you know, I like a wet race. However, in the situation we are with the championship, this suits us because typically a dry race means less carnage, so we're happy with the way it is. So let's just hope for dry skies and the pulse race to get nice and low.
Thanks, Charlie. Good luck.
He's a cool customer. Really impressed with what he's done a lot of racing on the Nürburgring in recent years. And they've been right on the pace from the word go. He said it was a slow start to the season, but the results indicate they were on it.
Yeah, finally Johann Schwartz hits pit lane, so be all about the execution. They may be able to hang on to the lead, but then it's all going to be about the pace of James Clay. Might be tough for this Rooster Hall team to hang on, but that was a great opening stint for Johann.
And he did what he always does, which is hustle the race car. The yellow Sabelt gloves flying in the windshield, as is customary. Doesn't matter what car he's driving, you can find Johann Schwartz by the gloves. And he drives with a certain panache that you can't help but notice.
I met Johann many moons ago when he was running a go-kart track down in Florida, and just loved him immediately. He's just got that exuberance and that enthusiasm for the sport, and great to see him getting these opportunities because he can certainly drive. He's a peddler.
Todd Brown released, and now we have to wait to see where they sort out. What did Johann do relative to Clay after that changeover? It's going to be close.
It'll be really close. Just in the backdrop there, so as I suspected, Rooster Hall car maintains the lead, but the pressure's going to be on pretty much immediately.
Todd Brown's going to have to find the pace in a quick way. Looks like a little bit of out-of-class traffic still separates him from the James Clay car. But the crew did what they needed to do. Got him out in front, and now Filgaris and RS1 back in the lead overall with 24 minutes to go.
Yeah, there's a big lead too. Again, Eric's been put in this position so many times this year. Just hit the marks, tick all of the boxes, and bring it home. There's Stephen McAleer, screen left. Great stint. And this is not easy to do at this level. I mean, just the car just seems to have found the sweet spot. You watch, I was out watching through some of the corners yesterday, Ryan, as you were, and I mean, this car is just hooked up so completely. Massive grip. It really seems like they got their shock package working well. Drivers have got confidence. They roll off the truck each weekend in the sweet spot.
What stands out to me is this has not been a track that has necessarily been kind to previous iterations of the Cayman as we look at Johann Schwartz in years past. I remember watching Spencer Pumpelly and Michael Cooper battle Cayman versus McLaren a couple years back, and it did kind of seem like Spencer might have had an arm tied behind his back in that fight, but that has not been the case. This new generation Cayman has been quick all weekend.
Great battle there, I think it was between Kenny Cook and JCD going through Canada corner there. It was a battle for fourth in the Pro-Am class. We focus on the leader in Am.
It's Ryan Dexter, who took over for Dominic Starkweather, and then Andy Lee in the Flying Lizard Aston. And evidently, team manager Darren Law was part of the over-the-wall crew for Flying Lizard in that pit stop just a few moments ago.
Yeah.
I was hoping we'd get to see it, but they did put on Twitter that they were expecting Darren to be a part of that.
About time he did something. Teasing. Busy man.
No kidding.
A lot of spinning a lot of plates.
Between Flying Lizard and K-Pax, he's got a hand in both, running programs in seems like half a dozen championships, multiple cars in many of them. They are very busy indeed. Not sure who that is off the pace there, but letting this fight come through. Ian Skier has not been able to make any inroads on Ian James. Certainly he's not going anywhere, but now he has to deal with the fact that Jason Hart has arrived on the scene.
Yeah, and I think for Ian James, I mean, he's just so rock solid. He very rarely makes a mistake or opens up the door. Just he's been there, done it so many times. He will not crack under this pressure.
It's been interesting watching him slide into a management role in recent years. He had a role with the Panos team a few years ago, and now with Heart of Racing as well. And they are very busy. Speaking of running multiple programs, running multiple championships here in North America. Plus, they ran a pro car in conjunction with TF Sport for Aston Martin at the Total Energies 24 Hours of Spa here recently.
Yeah, top-notch organization. Ian's done a tremendous job in building up very quickly. Obviously has a great network with all of the teams that he's worked at and with in the past, and brought a lot of those team members together. Builds a great team, got great energy, and certainly with Gabe Newell's support, they're able to do great things. And Ian's also involved in the driver management of a few of the drivers in our paddock as well. So certainly is a great multitasker. As now we see Jason Hart really starting to put the pressure on Elliott Ski here. This is 1, 2, 3 in the Pro-Am class going at it.
Well, it does look like Ian's got his hands full, though. Might be laboring a little bit with the handling of that Aston. To my eye, the Porsches are quicker if they could get clear, but that is easier said than done. That said, here comes Elliott Skier. Takes a look to the inside. That's covered off by Ian James a bit forcefully. Everyone has to stay in lockstep.
Yeah, Ian had to be really deep on the brakes there. That was close to a little touch there as Jason Hart is looking for a way through. He is our championship leader right now, along with Scott Noble, of course, coming into this round of the championship with just a 4-point lead over the car right in front of them. So as they run right now, it would be a 1-point lead. He'd love to get around that Premier car.
By the way, Rafa Matos serving that drive-through right now for the short pit stop. But let's focus our attention here with less than 20 minutes to go. A three-way battle, first, second, and third in Pro-Am. Roars through turn 5.
They're definitely working over Ian James right now. He's having to dig deep here, use every ounce of experience here to keep that Aston Martin in front. Ski is in a tough spot. He wants to get the lead, but he can't afford to open up the door and allow the championship leader by. He knows the big picture as well as the immediate goals in front of him.
Oh, here comes Hart, late on the brakes, takes a peek up the inside, but again, not close enough. Was that a genuine attempt or simply making sure Elliott knows he's there?
Yeah, I think he's just feeling him out. You don't want to overcommit here and risk taking someone out, getting a penalty or something like that. So again, Jason's been here before. He needs to just, oh, he's loose, he's loose, he's loose. He fired it in there. You could see that one developing in the backdrop. He was getting loose all the way through the carousel.
And the mentality of a driver at this level. You just had a wild moment. What do? You keep your foot in it and keep up the pursuit. James forced to go on the defensive. This could be the chance for Skier because the pressure has receded behind, at least temporarily.
Yeah, temporarily. So that's the key component there. If he's going to make a move, maybe he needs to try and set Ian up, get a good run off of 14. Try and pick up the draft and see if you can pop him into that break zone. It looked pretty tight the last time he tried that. Maybe he can just go in a little bit deeper.
How quickly Jason Hart has reeled them back in, though.
Seems like the Aston is pretty good mid-straightaway speed, and then the Porsche comes back right at the very end. Let's see if it develops the same way this time.
Is that just the gear ratios?
Could be. Just watch right here. It seems like the Porsche suddenly comes on strong right about now.
He's close. Not close enough. Stays right there, locked in under the rear wing. Love how closely these GT4 cars could run with one another.
Yeah, I spoke to Aaron Teewitz about that. He's got a ton of GT3 experience running with the Lexus squad and the Vasson Sullivan organization, and he's running in GT4 competition here this weekend. He said, I love this racing. He said, driving a GT3 car is the ultimate. But he said, in terms of racing, this is the best. You can run so close together. You don't get the aero wash. It's a lot more fun in race conditions.
1, 2, and 3 in Pro-Am. They are covered by less than 1 second. It's been this way for this entire race. This is a carryover of a battle that began with these 3 cars with different drivers behind the wheel.
Yeah, this is cool. This is really cool.
Some traffic here. This is the series rookie from Oklahoma driving alongside Mike Skeen, doing the best he can to stay out of the way. Oh, that's an off there for Todd Brown. That's the leader in AM. Does that open up the door? I think it did. I think I just saw Al Carter go by, and Al was running in 4th. So that means that Brown has dropped a few spots in the AM class, and yep, he certainly has. He was pointed the wrong direction.
Yeah, Clay is through for the lead. It's a shame because, oh, did he get help? Oh, no, this is before. It's a replay we were looking at.
This is back to line action, and Todd Brown, no rest for the weary here. He was pointed the wrong way, got the ship righted right into the middle of this traffic.
He was doing a nice job. He hung on to that lead. Clay was trying to chase him down. Last time across the stripe, it was down to just about a second, so maybe he just felt the pressure there and overcooked it in turn 5. We just saw the aftermath really.
Povaleto and Aaron Teewitz, I believe, are the two right there together. Povaleto take it over from Ross Schwetz. Teewitz from Tom Coleman work their way past Todd Brown.
Yeah, Teewitz have been flying here this weekend. Led a couple of the practice sessions yesterday. Qualified really strongly for tomorrow's race, but coming from a bit deeper in the pack. Car that had to be fixed up, I believe, after the GTA race earlier today.
Correct.
His teammate had a broken rear suspension, had to take it to pit lane.
Let's watch that fight just ahead of Todd Brown, the erstwhile AM class leader. So Clay to P1. Lander now runs 2nd, Carter 3rd, side by side. Teewitz to the inside of Povaleto. Little Aaron on Aaron action here. And the hometown hero, Aaron Teewitz, who's from just down the road, has a ton of experience here in open wheel cars, grabs the spot away.
Yeah, he loves this circuit, and this Super is absolutely flying here this weekend. Got good top speed, as demonstrated there in the move up into turn 1. But the cornering ability has got everyone raving about it who's driving one of these cars this weekend.
And he is disappearing off into the distance as far as Aaron Povaleto is concerned. And Aaron is no slouch, Povaleto that is. They've had some good runs this year, he and Ross Schwest.
Marcus Hasselgrove involved with that organization now. He's top-notch. Great leadership, engineering skills.
Been working for GMG as of late. Comes across to the Schwest Povaleto racing team. It should make a big impact. It's not a battle for position here with the 2 BMWs, but the 3rd car in line, that's Matt Travis in the 5th placed AM class car, who would love to get around Jones, Devin Jones, in the car that runs 10th in Pro-Am, so he can take a shot at Todd Brown for position in AM.
Yeah. Brown with that spin dropped from the lead all the way down to 4th in class, unfortunately for him. Up front, Filgaris continues to make it look easy. 23.5 second lead. That is outrageous. And that's over the next nearest competitor who's not in the same class. When you get back to the next silver car, 33 seconds back.
Change of position in Pro-Am. Andy Lee just made the pass on John Capestro Dubets. That's for 5th in class, 7th and 8th overall. Andy in the Flying Lizard Aston. Elias Sabo started that car. He's got some work to do if he's going to catch the rest of the Pro-Am front runners.
Yeah, about 5 seconds up the road is the next nearest car, which is Kenton Cook. That's going to be a tough ask with the speed that he'll have aboard that B Sport Racing Aston Martin.
Less than 13 minutes remaining. Well, we've said this before. Dominant performance from RS1, Stephen McAleer and Eric Filgaris. The team, in many ways, was a known commodity coming into the season. Same for Stephen. Eric, a little bit less so. He's been scrapping and clawing, trying to make racing a career. Got thrown this opportunity, and my goodness, has he grabbed it with both hands.
He has. A lovely young man, and have known he and his dad for a long time. And you talk about networking. They were always pounding the pavement, always looking for opportunity. Just wonderful personalities, and they're being rewarded now with this opportunity. and they're making the most of it. I mean, Eric's just he's really stepped up to the plate. I mean, the margin between he and Mackler seems to be getting tighter and tighter every single weekend.
Bad news just got worse for the Rooster Hall team. Drive-through penalty just handed down for a pit lane speed violation.
I wonder what that was coming in or going out.
Right. Also, the Team HCP Tangerine Associates car, Alex Amin and Ryan Hall, hit with the same violation. They were running a little bit further down the order in the M class. Race Vision powered by AWS. This car right here, John Capestro-Dubetz, clocking in with the fastest overall top speed. And let me tell you, from years of coming here watching the BMW M4 GT4 run, I am not at all surprised to see that the BMWs are 1 through 5 on that list. Meanwhile, that was Kitten Cook pulling into the pit lane. And he was running 4th in class prior to that.
Yes, that promotes Andy Lee up to that 4th position. And he now sits 10 seconds back from the podium, which is still being held front. Right is down.
Yep. Man, this season got off to a dream start. They swept the weekend at Sonoma, but since then, no finish better than 4th. And other than that, no finish better than 8th.
Yeah, 4 rounds where they didn't score any points, so it's been a rough summer for them. And they certainly came into this championship season with high hopes, but sometimes racing just goes that way. Some years you can't do anything wrong. It seems like others you can't do anything right, despite that great start to the year.
And all the momentum, too. They were runner-up in class last year at that big breakthrough win at VIR. Closed the season with a pair of podium finishes, runner-up at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, and transitioned right into Sonoma with 2 wins to start 2022. And the dream has turned into a nightmare, I'm afraid, for B Sport Racing.
Ian James continues to lead here. Skier and Hart still in close proximity. James has taken the pressure away. He's gapped these guys by about a second. You can see it there on the road as well. James Clay leading AM.
This would be a 5th win in a row in class for Clay and Postins. In that AM class, there are quite a few competitors. Here we go, side by side. This is for 2nd. Jason Hart trying to muscle his way past Elliott Skier, and he gets the job done in Billy Mitchell Bend.
That is huge in the championship there, running 1 and 2 in the points, and now the championship leader is ahead of his closest pursuer.
Now he sets sail for Ian James. We saw Skier take a shot at him earlier. What can Jason Hart, the reigning class champion, do?
Does this change the complexion of this battle for the win? James looked like he was able to keep Skier at bay, but now he's got a different competitor here. First of all, Jason has to escape the clutches of Elliott. He's not going to give this up easy.
Love how much you can see these GT4 cars sliding around, searching for grip. Every shot we get through the windscreen, you can see the hands flashing back and forth.
Yeah, and that tire deck is going to be at its extreme point right now, getting this deep into the race.
Aaron Teewitz continues to knife his way through. That's past the AM class leader.
Yeah, he's flying, that is for certain. Fastest driver on the track last go-around, 120.2. Compare that to the leader, 221.6. Now that pace is being controlled by Fulgaris, but certainly Teewitz has been very, very impressive with his pace aboard that car this weekend as they finally serve their penalty for that pit lane speed infraction. Not sure if it was Johan coming in or Todd leaving his pit box, but either way.
Also saw a drive-through handed down and a 60-second stop as well to John Jesbray. That's for the contact that Kevin Conway had in that car coming into the pits earlier. Initially, we saw that was going to be sorted out post-race, but the stewards do hand down the incident responsibility penalty with 7 minutes to go.
Jason Haas cut into that gap to Ian James immediately.
Oh, yeah.
Game on once again.
Here he comes. not waiting around. Jason Hart, an absolute ace in a Porsche Cayman.
Been a great season for him with Scott Noble as his teammate. 5 times in the top 5, 3 podiums, including that win.
Win came in the second race at VIR. In some respects, maybe a similar circuit here with some high speed, high commitment areas to it. Some elevation change. I'm not sure anything totally compares to those S's in VIR. But not a surprise to see them running at the front. And now, with 6.5 minutes to go, he has caught Ian James for the Pro-Am class win.
Oh, look at the slide. Beautiful drift there through turn 1, but he didn't lose an ounce of ground there in terms of the gap to the leader. He is really close. He is really pushing Ian James here, almost literally.
Puts the power down out of turn number 3. This is the long run under the Sargento Bridge. The straightaway that is anything but straight that leads down to turn number 5. This is called the Moraine Sweep, and sweeping around the outside, Jason Hart working for the class lead.
Can he do the over-under? No, he can't. James gets loose. I'm not sure if there was a touch there or not. Certainly had to compromise his entry to turn 5. Just showing his experience by placing the race car in the perfect spot to make it difficult for Jason Hart to make that move. He said he's going to have his work cut out, and I think that was about 25 minutes ago, and there's still 5 minutes to go in this race.
Jason Hart and Scott Noble looking for their second win of the season. The same can be said for Ian James and Gray Newell. They sit 4th in points, so they too would capitalize in a big way.
Yeah, they're not that far out of it.
Just 33.
Still a lot to play for. 50 points on the board still. For Ian James, he's got to figure this one out. He knew what Elliott Skier had and where he was trying to make his moves. New competitor. Same car, so he'll know where the performance factor is between the Aston Martin and the Porsche. So that helps a little bit. At this stage of the game, you think, okay, big picture thinking, championship leader, but Jason Hart knows that these championships can get away from him. If you got the opportunity for the big points and a 7-point swing, you have to go for it.
He was on the wrong end of that on 2 consecutive occasions. Big championship leads that melted away late in the year. It's interesting. John Shurik from NOLA Sports standing over the shoulder of Gray Newell there at Heart of Racing. So both the protagonists in the same camera shot, and here comes Hart. Looking to the inside, Ian James slams the door.
It seems like that last couple of 100 yards there at the end of the straightaway, the Porsche just comes on strong and really starts to put the heat on the back of that Aston. Mid part of the straightaway, it looks like the Aston has the pace, maybe a slight advantage. Then the last bit goes back in the other direction.
Jason Hart is close. Coming out of 3 through turn 4. Is that little kink in this straightaway? Now down to the braking zone of 5. He'll pop to the inside. James leaves him just enough room, and he pops back out of it.
Yeah, your brain is on overload in terms of where do you position the race car. He's okay. He's just clear of me. He's entitled to do that. Wasn't any overlap. He'll add that one move.
Doesn't mean Jason's going to like it, though. Awfully close to the back of that Aston with just 3 minutes to go.
Watch for the pop. Thinks about it. Sometimes we just catch the leader off guard. You look like you're going to go for it. He's looking in his rearview mirrors, just missed his braking point by the slimmest of margins. But right now, Ian James has not cracked under this pressure. Perfect job so far, but still 2.5 minutes to go.
Warning issued, though, to Ian James. Moving in response. Stewards took a good long look at that one. No penalty issued, but he'll be aware that they are eagle-eyed on that Aston for a similar move here. Now what does he do into Canada corner?
Just to keep the line, execute the corner. Yeah, they want you to be proactive rather than reacting to a move from behind. I mean, Jason didn't have the overlap, otherwise there would have been contact.
White flag is out for the overall leader, Eric Filgaris, but this is well in front of the battle we've got our eyes on as they come out of 14 and climb the hill to take the white flag themselves. Just 4 miles to go. And this is for the Pro-Am lead.
Let's watch this gap, see if it shrinks once again as they get to the last little bit where they're at full chat. Here comes Jason Hart deep on the brakes.
That's door to door. James lets him slide by. He'll try and cross him over, but Hart is able to seal it off. Now the run to turn 3. James takes a peek up the inside, trying to grab the top spot back on the final lap.
Oh, and he hits him. Contact, he sends him.
Great save by Hart. He's able to at least keep it pointed the right direction. He'll keep it off the wall, but that will cost him a spot.
Ski is going to go through. Stewards are going to look at that one. That was a beautiful move by Jason Hart there into turn 1.
And we go full course yellow.
Wow.
I'm not sure what it's for, but that will bring this battle to an end. At least, oh, and that's a big hit from the car new to the championship. Mike Skeen started it. Grayson Farashon from Arcadia, Oklahoma, I believe. It was that car, the G2 Racing G-Speed number 59. Looked like a big one.
Well, tough one for the stewards there. There was definitely a little bit of argy-bargy there with Ian. Down into the brake zone for turn 3, trying to respond to the brilliant move that Jason had put on him up into turn 1. That was just supreme.
For Filgaris and McAleer, shaping up to be a 3rd consecutive win. Started the season with 5 in a row, finished 4th at race 2 at VIR, now possibly 3 more.
Do you know the problem for Jason Hart is if Ian James gets the penalty, it almost hurts Jason Hart more because it'll move Skier up into the win.
Now that's interesting.
So you'd almost like to not have the penalty.
Huh.
I mean, they can't suddenly pick up the Hart car and move him to the lead of this race and give him that position back. So if Ian James gets any sort of penalty, it would turn the victory to the Premier car, which is running 2nd in this championship with a big swing, maximum points.
That is an interesting point. Something that will have to be sorted out post-race, but provisionally, really nothing provisional about this one. It was pure domination. Filgaris and McAleer win their 3rd in a row. RS1, their 8th win out of 9 races in the 2022 season. But then we get to the provisional part of it. On the road, Ian James, Gray Newell, and Heart of Racing take the win. Have to imagine that's going to be under review after contact fighting in turn 3 with Jason Hart. As it stands, it's Heart of Racing 1st, Premier Racing 2nd, and Nola Sport 3rd. And look at this in AM. Not sure how this happened, but Random Vandals has drifted forward to the win.
Clay is down in 4th.
So something has gone awry late in the race. Up the hill, though, how about this? Al Carter, Paul Sparta, Gizmo and company at Random Vandals take their 1st win of the season and do it at Road America. Wow.
Clay finishes on the podium. That is crazy, but right now as they run, getting back to that incident, Jason Hart and Scott Noble would still have the championship lead by a point, whereas if they elect to do any penalty on Ian James, they would be 2nd by 3 points.
Very interesting.
Meanwhile, the domination in the silver class continues. 8 victories from 9 events. Just amazing stuff.
Quickly back to the AM class story. For Random Vandals, it's a fun team. They have a lighthearted way about going about their racing, but they take it seriously when they need to. They've got their little raccoon mascot Gizmo painted on the car. They've been giving out little stuffed animal gizmos to kids throughout the course of the season. And they've had so much bad luck this year. They've had 4 instances where they have not finished a race. And for them to come out on top, I know that means a huge amount to everyone involved. They get it done in improbable fashion. We'll have to check with Paul and Al and Sonny and the rest of the team after the race to figure out just how they got it done. But it looks like, on the road at least, a first win for the Random Vandals team.
Great result also for the Smooge Racing number 72, Anthony Gerazzi and Jaden Lander finishing second. So what happened to James Clay there at the end to lose that lead?
He'll still manage third. Travis, another fourth place finish. He's run 3 races this year in the AM class. He's finished 4th in all of them. And the CrowdStrike fastest lap of the race to a car we never talked about in the entire race. How about that? Karis Callis Racing, Terry Borcheller, who shares the car with Nick Shanny. He has been really fast this weekend, topping a couple sessions. And Terry Borcheller, the veteran, CrowdStrike fastest lap of the race.
Wow. That's a monster lap at 2:18.2.
It's 5/10ths clear of Filgaris and McAleer.
It's incredible. Most of the other teams are in the 19s, 20s, and 21s to run an 18.2 in race conditions. Wow, that's saying something.
And he did it in the second stint with used tires.
Terry Borcheller, you are the man.
No doubt about it. Great stuff all around, capping off a busy day of racing here at Road America. And tomorrow is also jam-packed with 4 races across the 4 SRO America series in one of the absolute best locations for a race fan anywhere on the planet. Road America never disappoints.
A lot of fun to be had in these parts, and for the drivers, they got to keep focused on a doubleheader. Don't celebrate too early tonight.
That's probably tougher to do here than
Yeah.
just about anywhere. There are a number of choice watering holes you could celebrate a victory at, and you'll have to postpone that for at least one day.
These guys have had to find that a lot this year.
Doesn't help that they've got a brewery as a sponsor. Think about the challenge there. But there you go. Number 1, Eric Filgaris, Stephen McAleer, as they have been 8 out of the 9 races to start 2022. It is hard to go mistake-free with that kind of regularity. Never mind the pace. Never mind all the other things that go into it. Just to control what you can control and not have a misstep. That's the only thing that stopped them this year, was the one time they did have a little miscue on strategy, and it cost them at VIR, but not so here today, Shay.
No, definitely not. He's getting quite used to this whole winning thing, Eric. It was a different race you were finishing today, but you still had a massive gap coming out of the pit lane. Were you bored at all driving out there by yourself?
Well, it's funny you say that. So we have a mechanism in the car that tells us the pit time, and that wasn't working. So in the box, we actually gave up about 9 seconds. We found out afterwards, so we didn't really know how long our stop was going to be. We ended up losing time, and then I was by myself, not really sure what was going on track. But that's a testament to Stephen McAleer's driving ability and his job today, giving me the car in a position to win. My job's going to be that tomorrow. So we're really proud of Community Beer Works. These RS1 guys work so hard, and we have Porsche Naples on the hood for this weekend. So all around, weekend's going our way so far. We have one more race.
Good luck tomorrow. I know your concentration's shifting to that.
Thanks, Shay.
From race control, by the way, finishing order in both Pro-Am and Am under review. Incident between 24 and 47 under review. 47, oh, that's the one between James and Hart.
Yes. So maybe there was an incident with Clay, our leader in Am, because
That's my
that is
guess.
under review as well.
Yep, had the exact same thought. So these are the only results we can talk about with any great degree of certainty here. McAleer and Filgaris by 33 seconds, but a good run from the Dexter Racing team. Dominic Starkweather and Ryan Dexter kept their nose clean. They come home second. Sanders and Stevens dropped a ways down. They ended up in third after the contact in the pit lane. That also included Conway and Jesbray. We saw the issue for Farashon there at the end. Our hope is that he is all right. It looked like a big impact, and then something went amiss for Austin Smith and Zach Anderson, because
I think that was the car we saw slow down into turn 5, possibly.
Yeah, you might be right. They had a good start to the race, rather, but something amiss, and they end up down at the bottom of the silver standings. It's going to be a long night for the stewards. They're not getting to Siebkens anytime soon.
No, we're still waiting to hear if there's going to be any change here with Ian James bringing it across the line in first place. It was a great battle. I mean, just tremendous driving by Ian. Then you saw that monster move by Jason up into turn 1, and then that little contact down into turn 3 that they're trying to figure out if it was incidental or not.
And we're trying to figure out what exactly we're going to do about this too, with so much uncertainty hovering over the ultimate result here. Again, on the road, the Pro-Am win went to Ian James, but he and Jason Hart collided, fighting in turn 3 for the lead. I'm sure we'll see that here in the highlights. This is a look back at what happened over the last 60-plus minutes. Stephen McAleer from pole accelerated away, and behind him, the action was hot and heavy.
Yeah, Skeen immediately in trouble. Look at this save here by Lau, just into the brake zone for turn 12. That is a great recovery.
Saw a number of good saves over the course of the race today. This was a fight for the lead in the AM class. Johann Schwartz making it work high, wide, and handsome in a place you don't see that very often, and got the job finalized here in the carousel.
Yeah, it just sends it. Charlie has to give it up, but he kept it tight all the way. And big incident here, coming to pit lane between second and third on the road. Kevin Conway just rushes in there, gets it a little bit wrong. Contact is our leader in AM going around.
Todd Brown spins out of the lead in the AM class. This, though, was the big moment, fighting for the lead in Pro-Am on the final lap. Just that little bit of contact sent Jason Hart off track, and then this big hit as well for Grayson Farashon. But at the very front, for the 8th time, Stephen McAleer and Eric Vilgaris win in silver. Pro-Am, at least for now, to Heart of Racing. And the AM class win is Random Vandals Racing. Let's hear from Random Vandals now with Shay.
Well, guys, it's actually Krigsby that's been awarded the win. So car number 72 with this Toyota Supra, a car that has come home with the win. They're doing their victory pictures here. Do you guys mind if I jump in first and do the winning interviews? We want to talk to these guys. Anthony, first off, how much of a surprise is this to come home with the first win after a pair of second-place finishes this year?
Blessing. I mean, we had such a bad qualifying session. We just keep learning, trying to learn the car, and the team did awesome, and luckily we had a really good start and have a great teammate, so we're blessed.
Well, Jaden, it takes two to win a race. Talking about the start and the finish of that one, your pulse had to be racing.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Anthony, he got 10 positions on, I don't know, first 3 laps, and from then on, I just tried to keep it on the road, had some contact, but kept it clean and came in first.
Congrats on the win today, guys. Let's see what you can do tomorrow.
On the heels of a pair of runner-up finishes at Watkins Glen, they do one better today, their first win in the AM class in 5 races in 2022. So tough news there for the Random Vandals team. Looked like they might be in line for a win. Instead, the stewards award the win to this car, and we await the full explanation for that one, as well as the full explanation of what's going to happen in Pro-Am. Don't envy the stewards here. They've got a lot to sift through.
No, we would have to assume that maybe there was incident and a contact between Al Carter and James Clay. We saw Clay suddenly down the order and Carter up into the lead, and the win has been taken away. So we'd have to think that's what happened, but we'll wait for confirmation on that.
Exactly, and as we do, let's let you know that we'll have another Pirelli GT4 America race on the docket tomorrow. It'll be earlier in the day after effectively serving as the nightcap on Saturday. Looking ahead to Sunday's race, it will be at 11:10 local time here in the Central Time Zone. We'll have all the coverage for you at the GT World YouTube channel and other streaming services, of course, as always. Well, it looks like we're going to sign off from here. We'll have a full update for you when we start our show tomorrow. For Shay and Calvin and our entire team, I'm Ryan. So long for today. We'll be back tomorrow at America's National Park of Speed, Road America.